So, drivetrain. A couple of people have been asking me some very advanced questions. Some have been asking some very basic motoring questions. So let's start with the basic ones. Questions on drivetrain, and we can answer a few questions on automotive glass. So let's start with the drivetrain issue. So your car has its engine, usually in the front, sometimes in the back, sometimes in the middle. When your engine makes power, it has to send it to the wheels somehow, which I'll show you using the Prado. So some cars usually deliver power to the front wheels, or some deliver to the rear, or some, like this one, deliver to all four wheels, and that's called four-wheel drive. So there's four-wheel drive and there's all-wheel drive, which we can get into the details a bit later, but let me show you how the mechanics look like. So so that's your engine and gearbox. That's your engine up there, and this is your gearbox. And then the two of those, the engine makes power, gives it to the gearbox to, well, give a ratio, or, well, we'll explain gearboxes on another episode. But basically, this is your gearbox, that's your engine, and once the gearbox gets power from the engine, it takes it either in front wheel cars. You'll find that the engine is somewhere here and the gearbox is somewhere here, and they deliver power to those shafts, these two, and that's about it. In a rear wheel drive car, the engine will be in the middle, and then the gearbox in the middle as well, typically, and then they'll take power all the way to the back. And this is how this is the thing, it's called a drive shaft. So basically it's the thing you see on a lorry underneath, taking the engine the power from the engine to the rear wheel. So it comes to this is called a differential. It splits the power into two wheels. So when the engine spins, it spins this, which spins both those. So there's a shaft here as well, which spins the back wheel. So this car is four-wheel drive. So you'll notice any car, how to check if your car is front wheel, rear wheel, four wheel. If your car has a diff in the rear, then it can deliver power to the back. So that's either rear wheel or four wheel. If it doesn't have it, then it's only front wheel drive. Yeah, let me show you a front wheel drive setup. Show you the difference between a four wheel and a rear wheel. So this is rear wheel. This is the 4.4 that's covered. Front wheel, that's a front wheel, front. The tiny truck is a rear, then the other one is a front, and then the truck is rear. Okay, the truck is a bit complicated, but I'll explain that one in a bit. So front wheel drive is cheap to design, it's cheap to make, cheap to repair, so that's why it's on most cars. Rear wheel drive is more expensive, but it gives a more fun driving experience. Four wheel drive has the benefits of giving stability even in adverse weather, on loose chippings, on wet terrain. So that's the advantage of four wheel. So it's faster, it's more grippy, a bit more expensive. And rear wheel drive is fun, like the Benzo, like the 4.4, yeah, or like the truck. So let me show you the back of a front wheel drive car. So if you can notice, this one is just one bar. It's called something or other. So but basically you can see it doesn't have a diff, and it doesn't have shafts that go to the rear wheels. The rear wheels are just dragged. So the front wheels get power, then they drag the rear. So in the let me show you a typical rear wheel drive in a truck, typical rear wheel drive system in a truck. So I mean, we've gotten the differences. So the front wheel drive will just give power to the front wheels, and the back will be dragged. So this is a rear wheel drive car because it has a diff. And yeah, so it gives, you can see the gearbox there and the tiny drive shaft giving power to the back. I'm not sure if it's 4-wheel, it could be. I can't see from here. I can't see if there's, yeah, but it could be, I can't really tell. It could be 4-wheel drive, this Taunus is. But so basically this has the engine here. That's the engine. That's the gearbox. Then it gives power all the way to, see that drive shaft? See how massive it is? That's because, you know, this thing has lots of power. The engine makes lots of power. I don't know how these Actros are rated, but I think the highest is 3340 or 3140. I'm not sure, someone correct me if I'm wrong. So it's a Bluetex, a diesel. Usually if you want something to create power, you'd rather a diesel than a petrol. Petrol is, let's say, for speed, and then diesel is usually for power applications or torque. So the drivetrain takes power from the engine. I mean, not the drivetrain, the drive shaft, the thing that spins. Takes it from there and all the way, that's it right there. Brings it to this 2 wheels. Okay, brings it only to this axle. There's no axle here. This is a liftable axle. Sometimes when you're buying a truck, okay, not sometimes, all the time, when you're buying a truck, there is configurations to this drivetrain. So you can either have the 2 powered axles here, meaning the diff gives power to both rear axles. The front one is usually not powered, but I think even Benz's and, well, some manufacturers usually have all powered wheels on the head of the on the truck head, on the trailer head. Then this is the trailer that's pulled. The trailer has no power of its own, so it only has brakes. It doesn't have a drive shaft in the middle, if you can notice. So that's just brakes, air brakes, and leaf suspension, and that's it. So this is not powered at all in all the trucks. Rarely is a trailer, a hitchable trailer, powered from the engine of the towing car. So yeah, I mean, that's on drivetrain. And I don't know, ask me a bunch more questions, just so you know. I mean, all these channels out there are having very advanced conversations, but let's ask me a basic question and we might, you know, work on it together, correct each other. I have no idea what these are, so you know, there's always space for learning. I think it's something to do, I don't know what that is, but I know this is the anchor hook that holds the trailer on its own when the head is gone. So yeah, I don't know what application this has. I don't know if this is for security or cosmetics, ama ni uchawi, ama ni for horsepower, I don't know. But yeah, quite a big fuel tank. I also don't know what that is. Could be cooling or something, but yeah, it's quite interesting, quite interesting. So yeah, ask me a question, bro. And oh yeah, one other thing, someone asked me what the pot situation, what 6 ports and 4 ports are when it comes to brakes, or 2 ports, or so when they say pot or pay, let me show you what that means really. Your caliper, your disc, right, so your disc, this is what rotates, right, when the power comes to the diff, and this is what rotates and it's attached to your wheels. And then this is where the brake pad goes. This is the brake caliper. So when it holds, when it grabs onto this, then it stops you and it slows you down. So when it comes to the ports and the pistons, let me show you the front ones. So with the front one, on this specific car, it's a 4-port because it has 2 pressing ports. This 2, and there's this 2 on this other side. There. So this is a 4-port brake caliper. Usually there's more, you're supposed to have more braking power in the front than in the rear. So this has 4 ports. This probably just has 1 pin, 1 on each side, clipping. And yeah, yeah, that's about it. We'll talk about maybe drivetrain next time. Not drivetrain, but suspension, because suspension is still drivetrain. So this is, the suspension is usually the spring and the shock, and then yeah, and the arms, and yeah. So ask me a question. I've forgotten all the other questions guys asked. So yeah, that's drivetrain and brakes, and yeah, Kuku. Aya, Joseph, how come hii haina battery mbili? Kuna kwa na hapa kwa Prado. Okay. Oh, got it. Alafu kuna mtu alikuwa ananiuliza, hii nitakula venye inakuanga hivi juu na hewa ya hiyo joto ya engine inakuja hivi juu. Si ati heri ile nitakula ya hapa ama
ndio maana nitakula ile hewa inachukua haitoi joto, ina cool the engine.
Ndio I'm asking, hii nitakula hii ikiwa hapo juu ya engine ama kama ikiwa kama venye kwa Mitsubishi inakuanga huko kwa hivyo.
Ita function the same.
Hiyo kitu inakuanga tu watu kuchocha.
Ile tu ivute hewa.
Na gari kisonga si hiyo hewa joto inaenda chini hata, si ndio?
No, see it comes the hot cold air cooling the engine then ikitoka.
But itafanya tu the same. Ile hewa yenye inatoka hapa ya joto haikuji juu mingi. Got it. I always think the same hata mimi.